If you pulled a gun and shot somebody and took over power, you are no different from an armed robber. And once that system and process for getting into power became arbitrary, it depended on who pulled the gun first. And the military began an exercise in self-immolation, in which we lost some of the best brains in this country. They didn't trust themselves. You now ended up with people who were getting into power not because they had reflected, read a good book, thought about this country. They just got to power because they pulled the gun first. You then lost the moral authority, hypocrisy, and also elite conspiracy, which is that Nigeria has just become a carcass, and all everybody does is to come to the table with long knives, and people are interested in the slices they are taking back to their, to their communities. So the sense of who we are as a nation has literally become invisible. And when I speak about this, I speak with all the respect I can muster for the military and for those who have governed this country. But it's not about good soldiers or bad soldiers. It is that in the first place, the military never ought to have entered into politics. Now, book after book have been written, that the soldiers themselves, tomorrow, this is not a commercial, but tomorrow I'm reviewing the book written by, the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Irabo. Now, you can see very clearly, because when people say, why are we not like Malaysia? Why are we not like India? I tell them, all of these Asian countries, is there any of them that suffered a military coup? None of them. And once all this came in, remember that as the wheels rolled, the military itself became a dysfunctional institution, infested by maggots of ethnicity. Yes, infested by maggots of ethnicity. People now began to organize coups based on collective interests, and interests that were not necessarily national interests. And every time we took a step in that direction, two things happened. The first is that, morally speaking, and I will tell you because I'm a priest, okay, there cannot be a good or a bad rape. There cannot be a good rape.
We Nigerians, we just celebrated 65 years of independence, of being a Republic of Nigeria. So, this is Bishop Coker, Bishop Matthew Hassan Coker. I want you to please take your time, listen to what he said on this video, because he's been around before independence. He was just a little then, before that independence, and before the Civil War. So I want you to take your time as he takes us back, what happened at that time till today, if indeed we are making progress, or if we even know what we want as a country, if we are truly working towards the direction of getting it right, if according to the vision, the speech of this man at that time, Tafawa Balewa, if we are truly making progress, if there's any connection between then and now, where have we got it wrong? What are we not doing right? Or what is our leaders not doing right? There's something they are not doing right. And now this is where Bishop Coker have to say. Listen to this. We'll come back and talk about it. But please don't forget, I'll be your guy now. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel now. We'll come back and talk about it.
Because you took violence to the stock market. And this is why when armed robbery comes, and you fast forward and find yourself where we are now, where the right to bear arms, those who had the monopoly of violence, once they lost that innocence, it then became legitimate that whoever pulls the gun first. So you couldn't shoot. Okay, you shot people on Bar Beach, but you really shot them not because they were wrong, because you were holding what you yourself had stolen. So it became morally difficult for us to read the blackboard and square it with the teacher. So Nigerians are not bad people. We know how we got to where we are. Now, climbing back, this is after 30 years. So when you talk about the founding fathers of Nigeria, if you read Tafawa Balewa's speech, you go back and just read the speech and you see the kind of things he was saying about Nigeria, its hope and its future. So we still could have recovered lost ground.
I have to say, Bishop, that's an absolutely sterling analysis that you just gave there. But now it's 65 years later. The things that have happened have happened. What is it that shapes the idea of what you think this country is today, given all that you've said?
Nation building is about mythology. It's not about reality. And America today is a myth.
The American dream.
The American dream.
The rest of it. Yeah.
But you see, Nigeria has not had the ability and the capacity to create a dream,
to articulate that vision.
And I've always said, for example, close your eyes and ask yourself, after the 1960 speech, whether there is a speech of any president of Nigeria that has made you feel, wow. Or whether there is a speech that, like J.F. Kennedy's 1963 speech, it's so memorable that you have to ask yourself, what was I doing when this speech was delivered? That speaks to another dimension, which is what is the intellectual content of governance? Because once the soldiers, what the soldiers did, and you can see, so people like Wole Soyinka, all of our scholars can talk about this eloquently, that once the soldiers found that they couldn't win the intellectual argument, Their scaffolding, they didn't allow intellect to become a dominant force. Therefore, as they said, people were teaching what they were not paid to teach. Okay, once you discounted intellect, it meant that the whole question of imagination, okay, it's not for nothing that people like Plato, people like Aristotle, because people were spending time and thinking. Every organization, whether it's Nikon or whatever, is thinking about what am I going to do to make, and the people who designed this table, they're not here, we don't know them. The people who dream of what a good hotel should look like, they may not necessarily be here. So R&D is always a very important component, but those people are always in hiding. And once you decided that you came to power just like that, and then many people now tell you, where do we start? So every governor, you know, when people, Nigerians say, oh, the middle class has collapsed. But the middle class is not necessarily measured in Naira terms. Middle class is also about what is up here.
Absolutely.
You know, so for me, the rejection of the intellectuals and their contribution to policy is largely what is responsible. So you find people in government are trying, but they are trying only as best as they can. And occasionally you find somebody, a professor is maybe writing a speech for the wife of the first lady of a state. There are professors now who are finding themselves in a position, they are so circumscribed, they can't extend the limits of their imagination because it's tied to they don't want to lose their job. So if you don't have that kind of a society where the thinkers are here, like Plato said, you know, the thinkers are here, and policy makers and policy implementers are here, you will not be able to, you know, I mean, make a country go.
So, I mean, as I said, you know, I hate to repeat myself, but that's just brilliant. I mean, as you assess this country and look forward, clearly aware, as you correctly analysed there, that we've missed the boat that set sail in 1960. What's the abiding inspiration of your life now in Nigeria, given all these reproaches that you've outlined?
You know, I am thankful to God that I'm a man of hope. You know, I often say to myself, you know, God in His infinite mercy made me a priest. I probably would be dead by now because I would have been on the streets. There is a limit to how much injustice you can live with. And luckily, you know, I'm very lucky. I'm an average student, believe me. I'm an average student. But no, I'm an average student. But no,
but we concede your humility.
I can explain to you. I'm an average student, but I work hard. The second, perhaps most important thing, more than my education, is that I've been educated on the streets. I've been extraordinarily lucky. The Obi of Onitsha will open his palace to me. The Sultan of Sokoto will open his palace to me. We were together just the day before yesterday. The Emir of Kano will open his palace to me. The former president will open his house to me. So I have that extraordinary, it's not something I take for granted. But I'm sufficiently grounded because being a priest also puts me very much in touch with the poor. But I also see that this is not a country of bad people. Even those who are in power, there are a lot of good people allowing bad things to happen, largely because, again, the recruitment process. Too many people are finding themselves in power today without preparation. You
mentioned the point there about the poor. Is it the memory of the poverty that you see every day in Nigeria that propels you? Is it your outrage at the, if you like, hideously stunted life chances that people born here are now faced?
Charles, this is an extraordinary country. People ask me, I travel the world, people say to me, where do you get your courage to talk about this country that is gone to the dogs? And I said, man, you've not seen anything yet. I am extraordinarily proud of this country. I also happen to know what people have accomplished on their own, with their bare hands. Okay, I travel to the east, I travel to the west, I've traveled the length and breadth of this country. What is missing? It's like a man with a fantastic group of 11 players. Okay, but the coach not figuring out who to play or who to take out at what point at what time. What we have in Nigeria is that intellect has become it's something of envy. So if you got a first class, for example, you're not supposed to be talking about it. We can no longer have a measuring rod to say this is what competence and capacity entitles you to. You know, like they said of it's not Einstein. What was this Irishman? I've forgotten his name again. Whom they said when he was coming to England, and they asked him, you know, what do you have to declare? He said, my genius. That's what I have to declare. This is not a country where you can say that because I feel that this is what I have the capacity to do. I know how I can fix the oil business. I mean, the oil industry, for example. I know how I can fix electricity in Nigeria, but you don't have that kind of space because the institution, depending on the possibility that is there. Okay, if it is where the loot has been collected, then the children of those who are already in power will send they send their children there, not because of capacity, because this is, you know, running Nigeria like this, you know, presiding over a distribution agency. So to come back to the point, it is that I see it in the face of farmers. I see people who are so innocent but also so detached from the wealth of Nigeria, but they are working very hard and breaking their backs.
So given all that you see, what do you see as your mission in this country now? Is it to try and get the government, for instance, because we know you've been very outspoken, is it to try and get the government to be more sensitive to such deprivation and to make better provision to tackle the barriers in the way of a decent standard of living or something else?
To answer your question, let me just give you an example of what happened yesterday in Sokoto. No, is it yesterday or day before yesterday? No, day before yesterday in Sokoto. I brought President Olusegun Obasanjo to Sokoto with the Sultan of Sokoto together to the Catholic facility. We commissioned a hall full of 250 laptops. Because I'm looking at them, people are telling me there are 10 million, there are 20 million, there are 25 million Almajiris. If they are 10, 15 or 20 years old, in 10 years time they're going to be 30 and 40. Every count starts with one. So if all I can do is to take out only one person from the queue, that's good enough for me. You know, I travel around and believe me, I run into young people. I've met them severally. I remember running late to catch a flight in Sokoto. And somehow I was just like a few seconds. Then I remembered I forgot my phone. As I got to the aircraft, the pilot was walking around and he came, literally knelt down to greet me. And he said, I see you are looking very, I said, no, I forgot my phone. He said, where? He said, no, call your dad, let them bring your phone. I said, my driver is on his way, but he's still a while. He said, no, we'll wait for you. And I was so embarrassed. I stood there. But, when I entered the aircraft, what the pilot said to me? The pilot looked at me. He said, you are the one who wrote a letter, a recommendation that gave me a job as a pilot over 10 years ago. You won't remember me. At the same aircraft, I'm walking to catch a plane. The pilot comes out and kneels before me and says, I was your altar server when you were in Lagos. Now, what I'm saying, coming by a long road, is I've never tried to exaggerate what I think people think of me. I mean, all the things I've been writing, my greatest shock was to even see that people were reading what I was saying. And I've also tried to realize that it is important to be on the streets, pounding the streets, but we also now have to open a window for negotiation.
Indeed. But let me just, move away slightly from that. We're running out of time, and I want to bring up two important questions, because that one of them, of course, is significant as a way of looking back at Nigeria since independence. One of the issues has always been the conflict, if you like, or perhaps rivalry is a better word, of the different religions in this country. You are a Catholic bishop. Some would say that you're in a raging sea in the heart of Islam in sort of Sokoto and so on. But I mean, how do you think relations have evolved between the two religions since the 1960s? Because, I mean, we heard recently the Americans saying that, Christians are being massacred in Nigeria.
Well, I can tell you many stories. But one of my favorite stories, which I often tell, is being at the airport in Abuja and being in the lounge. And I've never met John Pepe Clark. I was the first time I saw him. I looked at him. I didn't.
And he's a great writer from the Niger Delta.
But also the most important thing is I'm taller than him. I saw John Pepe Clark, and somebody said, "That's John Pepe." So I got up to go and greet him, and then somebody says, "This is Bishop Kuka, is the Catholic bishop of the Diocese of Sokoto." And as I was about to shake John Pepe Clark, this gentleman came from nowhere. I didn't see him coming. I just said his agbada and literally separated our hands. He said, "Stop referring to him as the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto. He's our bishop in Sokoto. He's not the Catholic Bishop. He's not for the Catholics alone." When you have those kind of experiences, you can also feel nostalgic about how bad things have deteriorated. There are a lot of extraordinarily good people, but they are allowing terribly bad things to happen. If you go back and read Sardauna''s speech, for example, Tafawa Balewa's speech, he openly commended the work of the missionaries of the Catholic Church. But today, that same work, the schools we built have been taken over. In Kaduna, for example, the most prestigious school was St. John's College, where Nzogu went to. And Queen of Apostles. Those schools have been taken over and given Muslim names. And I often ask my Muslim friends, first of all, because there are no schools built, I don't know of any school that is built by a Muslim that is not, except in the Southwest, that is not either an Islamic school or whatever. But I've said to them, can you imagine if a Christian became president or governor and took over a school dedicated, that is named after Sardauna, and named it St. Thomas, what will happen? They say, no. So this is where we are. The tragedy with northern Nigeria, it is hurting, it is bleeding. People are living in destitution, but they are being mesmerized by people who entrepreneurs whose specialty is the weaponization of religion, who don't believe in the religion itself, who are doing well with their children because their children are in Catholic schools abroad. But these same people are not allowing the children of the poor. So to answer your question, it is to say to ourselves, no country can progress without education. Again, I keep repeating it. If you want, go to where I was born. You will not believe it. If it weren't because the Catholic Church gave me an opportunity to have an education, I would not be where I am today. And that is why when you see me so passionate about these things, it's because I'm convinced every little kid, every child should be able to have an opportunity. So what we did in Sokoto yesterday, I said publicly, the people we are calling Almajiris today, many of the ministers, if you are from northern Nigeria, you are an Almajiri at some point. Only that you got a chance. Now, I said, I am convinced that there is an Einstein among these Almajiris. I need to create an opportunity for that child. But of course, I know what is likely to happen. You know, there are those who are the merchants of whose children are elsewhere who will tell you, Bishop Kuka has built this, so it's only for Christians. If you go there, you become a Christian. So we have still not, you know, and this tribe is growing. Right. If as today we have 25 million of these kids with no education, and they are going to have children who are going to have children, and as you know, in northern Nigeria, you can be anything from 10 children to 50 children to 40 children. Now, this country is not expanding. Look at the multidimensional poverty analysis done by the Bureau of Statistics just for last month. It is Sokoto is 90%, Zamfara is 85%. All the areas that are contiguous with the far north of this country, where the Muslims are predominant, those areas are conterminous with the areas of destitution, poverty, neglect, and it's not. There's no other way to explain why it has become a crime scene today. So I don't know, but just to say that if we can all make our own little contribution. I'm not a state, but I also don't expect the state to do everything. Right. And the greatest challenge for northern Nigeria and all the governors is, can you please open up the doors and let's see how we can collaborate with one another.
Very important words. We've literally got less than a minute. And a quick question about Ogoniland, because I know that you've played a pivotal role in trying to bring about reconciliation there. What about this move by the federal government to return to Ogoniland? What's your perspective on that? Does that tick the boxes for you?
It ticks the boxes, and I really want to thank President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for that spectacular decision. I mean, he has remained consistent in focusing on the issues of justice, in trying to close the doors to injustice, bigotry, those who manipulate ethnic and religious identity. As you can see, when I during the Oputa panel, when I went to Ogoniland, when we were in Ogoniland, my friend led to Miti and others, when they came to me, they said, Bishop Kuka, please, I mean, Father Kuka, they said, look, you are a minority like us, so we know you can understand our problem. Now, they have fixed our problem, or at least this government has started a process of fixing our problem in Southern Kaduna. We now have a university. The Ogonis have a university. Right. Okay? This is how a country ought to be. And this is why, for me, the interesting thing is that, first of all, we have a vice president who was born after independence today. Okay? But we are seeing a government that is making nonsense of those who have used religion as a weapon of exclusion. And this is why, for me, all the agony, all the excitement about the Muslims are coming, Muslim ticket. Well, guess what? After all of this, I was lucky, because I said to people, it doesn't matter to me who wins this election. As far as I'm concerned, if it is Tinubu as a president, I've known him for quite a long time, and I have a bit of an idea about where he stands on some of these issues. If it is Alhaji Kashim, I'd known him. We went, to Maiduguri when he was governor as members of the Bishops' Conference. He received us. There is no single state in the core north that can boast of having a Christian as a commissioner. Okay. But in Borno State, we counted 5 commissioners who were Christians. This is not in Abuja that I will come and say, this kind of person, I'm looking at him about his Muslim credentials. We need to begin to focus on, and I think that this administration, with all its flaws, with all its weaknesses, not perfect, but we are seeing gradually a way of dealing with the issues of religion. And if you spare me a second, because you raised the issue of what the Americans were saying. Look, I mean, if the Americans are saying 100 million Christians have been killed in Nigeria, I should know. All right, I have my own contacts. But for you as a journalist, the important thing is not who said what, but what is the source. Now, the figures, the data should be available to us as the Christian Association of Nigeria, as the Catholic Bishops Conference of Nigeria. We have our own database. There is nothing to suggest that 100 million or how many Christians are being killed every day. But most importantly, and I end here, we should be worried about the death of any Nigerian. No citizen of this country deserves to lose his or her life.
Indeed. On that note, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, I want to thank.
This is Bishop Hassan, Kuka Matthew Hassan, Bishop, yes. Bishop Kuka. This man indeed is a scholar. He is a scholar. Give it to him. This man has been around. Anyway, he's a bishop. He should care. He should care about the country and the people. You see, one of the greatest problems we have in this country, a lot of factors. Then, because of those factors, then that we refuse to treat them when, at that time, it now becomes a problem. It spread around across the region, it's not a problem to solve. It has become, it has become very big that it is not very easy to solve again. When this problem started, leaders form a deaf ear because we don't know what we want. Because we are just fighting for power without having the vision of what we even do with the power. It is a shame, in case you don't know, that After 65 years of independence, we are still here talking about 1, 2, 3. 3 major basic things that this is what every Nigerians. 3 things. See, I wish we have electricity. Now, I wish government can give us electricity. I wish government can give us good roads. I wish government can give us water. I wish government can create jobs for us. I wish government can... All those things. These are the basic things. After 65 years, we still do not even know what we want. We still do not even know what we want. And we are not even working towards it. We are still far away from achieving our dreams as a country. Do you understand? It's painful to see Nigeria still talking like this, still asking these questions. Do you understand what I'm saying? Imagine somebody like how even not even how many years ago, somebody 65 years ago, we have been asking leaders, how many presidents we ever had in this country, both military president, military leader, and the civilian government. Till today, no, those presidents has never contested based on vote for me, we are going to give you electricity. Vote for me, we are going to fix your roads. Vote for me, we are going to create jobs. Vote for me, we are going to do this. All those things, zero. Over 100. Over 100. When you talk about this country like this, yes, we did well. At some point, some president did very well, but at some point, some people did very badly. They do not even have idea of what they want as a president, how to even govern the country. It becomes a problem when you do not elect leaders based on their competence, based on ideology, based on capacity. It becomes a problem based on recommendation, my brother, my sisters. Then religion now play ethnic card. Religion playing a major role here. Like he said, how would a church that somebody built in the name of, this is for Christian, somebody come and decided to rename it to another religion, causing problem, confusion. Meanwhile, there are a lot of lands there, hectares of land in that same region that the person could have used to build another one so that they can have it many. Then people can make their choice. Leave the choices for them to make. But no, they are always interested in governing a place that are already show the sign of governance. Do you understand? That is a major problem every governors in different states they are having. They are always interested in building, doing one or two things in a city where that is already existing, that governors has already, people can feel the effect of governors, saying that, okay, there's a leader in this state, there's a leader in this community. They are always interested in that. They are not interested going further, expanding, building more, so that governors, the people in the rural villages can feel the same leadership, quality leadership. They can feel the effect that we have people representing us. E.g., look at some governors now. You hear that governor is doing road or governor demolishing house. He want to build new because that place has already been developed. He will quickly do to say I do. But there's a lot of places, a lot of things you could have done. But they are interested. That's the problem. And now Boko Haram is not because when it started, they thought it was a joke. It has not started yesterday. It has not started today. It started yesterday. But they thought it was a joke. At that time, it was easy to solve the problem. Then our military, they decided to play politics with this. Then the leadership come and using the military to play politics with insecurity and playing politics with human lives. Now, human being, our lives are in danger. It's now become a problem for the same military, police, all the security agencies to solve the problem because they failed from beginning. They failed from the beginning. That has been the problem. If all of them, if they comes together, then they have the vision. They work together at that time with the same vision they had at that time. It would have been easier for them to deliver. But because no trust, they don't trust each other. They don't trust each other. That is the problem, and that is the division now. And it's not now. The division is too much. The ethnicity, the hatred, the tribal religion is now playing a major role in our politics. Now it's very difficult to solve the problem. Where do you start from? Where do you start from? Now some Muslims do not want to see Christians in their state. Christians is always welcoming other any religions at all, but some places they don't want. That's the problem. They don't want us to live together. A country where there is no love, no unity, no peace and unity, there's nothing you can do in the city. There's no growth, no development. If you're saying it already, why are there no development in this country? Because we are so divided. We don't reason together. We don't have the same mind, the same vision. All of us, we are not interested in building the country. Some are even interested in building their region and leaving the other one behind. Yet some even have the power to develop their region. They still fail to do so. It becomes a problem. There is no clear ideology, and people do not. These governors of a thing, government, president, governors, they don't take it as a position you need to study, you need to work hard to get into, and it becomes another problem because you need to work hard to pass your exam in school. You need to work hard, right, to become somebody in life. Now, you don't need to work hard to become a governor. All you need to do, work hard to, let's say, to work hard to whatever you do to make money and know somebody. Work hard to at least, I'm not talking about school now. As far as Nigeria election politics is concerned, you don't need to work hard to know something. You don't need to work hard, as in, you don't need to work hard to be an excellent with everything you do. You need to work hard to make money whichever way. Then while you make your money, know somebody. But in other country, it is by your qualifications. It is by the level of your qualifications that determines, that speaks for you. So if we have been electing leaders based on competent character that you can trust, you can verify, based on qualifications, we will not have been here talking about the same problem every election cycle, repeating the same problem. Imagine 65 till today we are still talking about the same thing, electoral reform, so that we can vote the choice of our leader. Yet we don't even have a common electoral reform. A National Assembly cannot even put that, sign that into law because they want to manipulate the process. Can't you see the impunity? So if we have been allowed the wishes of the people to come to pass by giving them opportunity to vote and elect their leaders by themselves, and if he or she misbehaves, they with the same way we come together to vote for him, we have to come together again and vote him out. That's why we may have election cycle 4 years. 4 years is not, before you know, if he didn't do well, there's even a lot of ways to do that. But a situation whereby it is not by qualifications, it is not by your certifications, it is not by competence, it is by agbero, it is by your power, physical power. It's not by it's by physical power, and the level of your wealth determines. It doesn't matter if you even understand what you are going to do. It's just like, anyways, what do you think? Now you know the problem. We have a long way to go. We are not even started. If we are even started now building the country, it would have been better. We'll get to our destination on time. A situation whereby we are not even started, we are still behind, it becomes a problem. Then we are not going to get to our destination on time. It's a problem. Another 5 years to come will be 70 years. We'll still be talking about the same thing. You will still be talking like there is no electricity in your state, there is no roads in your state, there is no good water, all those things. 5 years from now, 70 years, we'll still be talking saying the same thing, repeating. Anyways, let's stop this video here. What do you think? Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.